Okay, we should be live. Hey everybody, this is going to be Tech Thursdays, episode 165. We are going to be talking about new hardware announcements from this month for the rest of this year and some roadmap updates from AMD. We might look at some of the stuff from NVIDIA as well, but most of it's going to be AI focused. Most of it's going to be data center focused, at the very least, at a base level, but a lot of this is heavily driven by the AI market now. We are starting to see a little bit of consolidation, but there's still a lot of this moving of money and investment in different AI companies that are getting propped up more and more. So AMD announced today, actually, that they're basically investing in Anthropic, and Anthropic is going to be using the new Helios. Yeah, I think Helios was the big thing that was shown off. They announced Epic with Zen 6 coming soon, actually shipping now. So a lot of stuff that we can expect to see trickle down to the consumer market is now starting to roll out into the enterprise data center and the business environment. So we'll see potentially some more roadmap stuff for consumer in the next couple of months here. So I don't know if that means we'll be getting Zen 6 on consumer desktop this year. I still kind of think it's early next year, like sometime in the first half of next year is when I expect to see Zen 6. We haven't really focused on Zen 6 that much. Recently, for the past month or so, I've been talking a lot about Intel's upcoming Nova Lake architecture, which is is also kind of interesting in the sense that we initially thought that all of the Nova Lake stuff is launching this fall, around October, but it seems like if some of the leaks are true, or the rumors hold true, that that's not the case, and Intel's going to be doing more of a staggered launch, almost similar to what we see with GPUs, like how they're launched staggered, but it's almost like if Intel's Nova Lake launches in the reverse order, meaning the flagship part won't come until summer of next year, then I'm not sure the strategy behind that. It could be a rumor. It's not really set in stone. So we could still end up getting Nova Lake later this year, like all the SKUs all at once, or at least the high-end ones. But I don't know yet. It seems like the only thing that seems to be a constant at this point is the AI market has made things more unpredictable. So it's becoming more harder to read and figure out what's going to happen. Hey guys, what's going on? Are you going to play Halo Early Access today or tomorrow, or are you going to skip out on the Halo campaign? The Halo game is... Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. I knew it was coming out soon. Did I note down when that was? I guess I didn't write it down, or it's not on this computer. When is it? Halo. It's from Xbox, right? I gotta go to the Xbox to get it. It shows it's showing up on Steam. Coming July 28th, so that's next week. It is listed on Steam. It's on PS5? Deluxe Edition is today? Is it coming out on all the platforms? It seems like it's on multiple platforms. Is it coming out at the same time for all platforms? So I was interested in it, but I'll tell you the problem for me is, well, it's not a problem for me. It's a problem for Halo in the sense that Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. It's like, well, you see, what happened was Grand Blue Fantasy Relink Endless Ragnarok launched 2 weeks ago. And that game is so good that I don't know. I completely forgot about every other game. I know Assassin's Creed, there was some Assassin's Creed game that also came out, which we were supposed to talk about last week, and I completely forgot about it. There was an article here, somewhere. Let me see. Like Tech Power Up had something. I guess it's too old. No, I know it's somewhere here. Yeah, Assassin's Creed. We were gonna look at Tech Power Up's 32 GPU tested performance benchmark review of Assassin's Creed. That was supposed to be last week though, so I don't know if we'll go back and cover that. But yeah, I completely forgot about Halo and Assassin's Creed, all because of Grand Blue Fantasy Relink Endless Ragnarok. I don't even know if on Tech Power Up's website, like if they even, because they do a this week in games, but was this last week? So this would be like this week. I don't know. There was Halo was somewhere, right? Samurai, Zero Space, like what? Dino, something. Maybe next week. Oh, that'll be next week, not this week. Yeah. Oh wait, do they have this week in gaming? This week in gaming. That would have been July 7th week. This week in gaming. Probably because it's an expansion. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's on PC also. Deluxe editions today. Okay. Well, we may. Well, I don't know. To be honest, Halo is coming out at a weird time. Although when I look at next month I see one game, and then September I don't actually have anything listed. So apparently I haven't been using this computer enough to synchronize the notes and stuff. So I don't actually have anything noted down here, even though I know that there's a bunch of stuff in September. I just can't remember what they are right now. There's one game that I know of for a fact is September, but I have one game noted down for August, and I have two games for this month. One of them was Star Fox, which was like July 4th, and the other one was Endless Ragnarok, which is the game that basically eclipsed Halo and Assassin's Creed. Yeah, it does seem more interesting to talk about games these days, just because computer hardware is so. There's so much negativity surrounding computer hardware this year on the consumer side. I mean, all the announcements that we got today. Today was the big announcement day, and everything that was announced was literally all data center stuff. The only thing that was announced for consumer was Gorgon Halo. Gorgon Halo was finally unveiled, but it was unveiled in the sense that it's being marketed now as an AI, a local on-prem AI workstation for AI use cases. And you know what? Apple, this is how ridiculous the AI stuff is getting. Apple's doing the same thing. Apple is starting to market the Mac Studio and the Mac desktop little Nook thing. They're starting to market that as an AI box. So Apple's doing it, AMD's doing that. They're basically taking Gorgon Halo and they're like, hey, this thing would be really great in a laptop, but you know what it would be even better as? Your personal AI, agentic AI on-desk assistant. So there's a lot of companies now that are interested in productizing that as something that they can resell to consumers, which is really bizarre because when I look at the whatever that thing is that AMD launched earlier this month, that it's like a dev kit thing that's basically Strix Halo in like a little pizza box. That thing has less connectivity from a consumer focused standpoint than a mini PC with the exact same internal hardware. What do I mean by that? So if you look at those AMD, I wish I could find the thing, like the article. Basically, AMD repackaged Strix Halo recently, and they're now selling it direct as like an AMD branded mini PC, but it's basically an attempt to copy the NVIDIA DGX Spark. Because NVIDIA is going from DGX Spark for AI on a desktop like system to RTX Spark in laptops. Whereas AMD started in laptops with Strix Halo laptops, and there was only like 3 or 4 different options. Although there are more of them that are coming, and what I noticed is AMD is going to start selling the lower tier Strix Halo, basically the ones that have like 64 gigs or 32, especially the 32 gig one. They're going to start selling the 32 gig and the 64 gig version in laptops. So you're going to start seeing other laptops from Lenovo and those guys and HP selling these things with like 64 gigs or 32 gigs as a Strix Halo. Which is kind of, I mean, it makes sense because the AI people are really looking for that 128 gigabyte option, the flagship option, like the one that's in the GMK Tech that I showed off last year, and the Framework Desktop. Now, granted, you can get the lower end Strix Halos in those exact SKUs or those products, but I think most people that are interested in those platforms are doing it for AI, especially since it's getting marketed and hyped up in that manner now, which is really interesting because it wasn't like this a year ago. These products are technically not new. They've been on the market now for a little over a year. We'll say like 14 to 16 months. And a lot of them are now just being marketed as local AI. Even though they're still very, very good mini PCs that don't have to be used for AI. But hey, if you want to do AI, they just so happen to be great with AI because of the unified memory architecture, similar to what the Mac Studio is able to do. So Gorgon Halo was announced. Let me see if I can find that. There was a Gorgon Halo thing, although I don't even know if it's going to be on here because all the interesting stuff. So here's that one. Today was like a big AMD thing. Like it was like 2 hours long or something. Like AMD presented all the stuff. They showed off every new thing that's coming soon. All of it. Verano, Venice, the Agentic, the new CDNA architecture, all the GPUs. Everything was shown off today, and nearly no one's talking about it because, like, at least none of the enthusiasts are talking about it because it's all AI focused. So let's take a look at this. AMD fires back at NVIDIA's Grok bet, fuses the Cerebrus wafer scale engine with Helios for 5x higher tokens per second per watt. It's all about tokens per second per watt. This is becoming the new performance benchmark that everyone's going to focus on in determining the performance of a compute system now. So unlock higher throughput, ultra low latency. Yeah, they got on there. There was a bunch of companies that got on stage just to show their support. They had somebody from Cisco on stage talking about Ultra Ethernet, mainly because NVIDIA goes to market and leads with InfiniBand for their fabrics for interconnecting all their GPUs into a giant SLI bridge, essentially. AMD can't do that because they got rid of Crossfire, and Crossfire just uses PCIe, and PCIe doesn't function properly outside of a computer unless you're using Oculink, but that's even more complicated. So I still kind of think Oculink might be a good option. I just don't know how well it scales in terms of distances, and that's kind of where Ultra Ethernet comes into play. So they had a lot of that stuff because the network aspect is becoming a big bottleneck now for AI, because we talked about scale up on this channel. We talked about scale out on this channel. A lot of what this problem is scale out problems, but also another problem is scale across. That's when you go from data center to another data center to add even more GPU. So imagine having multi-GPU SLI, only now your SLI is a bunch of external GPUs, all SLI together using a Ethernet switch instead of a SLI or an NVLink bridge. That is effectively what they're doing. with this Helios. It's very interesting stuff. It's quite fascinating when you do a deep dive into the technology that AMD is leveraging to make this thing happen, because this thing is insane. Helios, literally the thing itself, Helios weighs 7,000 pounds. Oh man, if that rack tipped over and fell on somebody, it's game over right there. 7,000 pounds of metal and optics and copper wires and just like rack mounted chassis and server blades. Oh, that would be ugly if that fell over, man. 7,000 pound rack. It's a double width rack on top of that. So it's crazy, and all of it is liquid cooled. 100% liquid cooling. So you can imagine the amount of copper. So right now, we all know there is a memory shortage. There could potentially also become a precious metal shortage because of the amount of copper. And last year, when NVIDIA revealed their rack scale solution, or was it 2 years ago now? Whenever they first showed their rack scale solution, their NVLink 72, when they showed that off, Jensen was bragging about how the backplane of that rack had so much copper metal that you know, I forgot what exactly he was saying, but it was basically something like, hey man, we got so much copper in this one rack. Imagine if you had like 100 of these racks for AI. Imagine how much copper that would require because of all the liquid cooling plates and all the interconnects. So realistically, this is going to have some severe scalability problems in the future because of the metal that's required. So that's where I think that we're going to start seeing next generation AI systems leverage fiber optic cables to basically do your SLI. Instead of using copper to connect your SLI bridge, you're going to start using fiber optic cables, lasers, and glass. So we're going to need a lot of glass, we're going to need a lot of laser diodes, and that's going to be the future of this technology. I'm calling it. I'm saying that's what's going to happen because the copper is too much. That doesn't solve the problem. You still got to liquid cool everything. So all the copper is going to your liquid cooling. The least you can do is reduce the amount of copper for your interconnects by using fiber optic cables. So I know they're doing that when they scale across. They have to do it when they scale across. But scale out is going to have to be fiber optic if not already. And the scale up is probably going to become fiber optics as well for short reach. So really, really interesting stuff, man. Where's all the old hardware retiring if they bring in all the new stuff? So this is AMD's first rack solution. This is their first generation. They don't have a previous generation. NVIDIA does have a previous generation. So that's a good question though. Like, what do they do with all the old stuff? Well, you can actually find a lot of it on eBay, funnily enough. If you go on eBay and you search like what is it, MI 300 or MI 250 or something, you'll find the previous generation AI accelerators, aka graphics cards from servers, on eBay. So, because there's a bunch of people that have asked me, like, what do I do if I want to build like big AI locally in my house? And I want to do like real deal AI, not some like, oh, go buy a Mac Studio or a Strix Halo and start doing AI. Now, you can obviously do it with those solutions, but if we're talking like big AI, then you probably need to go and buy like used server hardware just to be able to get the sort of scale. Don't ask me how to power up all that stuff because, like, without a data center, without the sort of receptacles and the breakers required to power that, I wouldn't even know where to start. You probably need to go ask someone who used to mine Ethereum or Bitcoin or something along those lines, because those guys would be way more knowledgeable on figuring out how to power a miniature in-house data center for AI workloads. But there are a couple of people that have asked me about that. So it's interesting, man. We live in a really weird time when it comes to this AI stuff, because you think back, what was this, like 4 years ago? Almost 4 years ago was when ChatGPT was released to the public as like a public beta. I think it was in November 2022 was when I caught wind of ChatGPT being out in the wild. And here we are, what, 3.5 years later? Almost 4 years at this point. And look at how much things have changed. In just 4 years, this AI stuff has evolved so much to the point where memory is so limited in supply, and I would have thought that it would have gotten this way. If you would have asked me like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, um, what's going to happen with technology, I would have never guessed that AI would have got to the point where it's like memory is so constrained. Metals like copper are probably going to be at risk of constraint. Although I don't know, that remains to be seen. Someone was telling me that some of the metals used for the liquid cooling and the components, because that's a lot of copper. Because they're liquid cooling all the CPUs, they're liquid cooling all the GPUs. The AMD solution is 100% liquid cooled, like 100%. It's fully closed loop. They got copper plates on all the GPUs, and that's a lot of GPUs. They've got copper plating on the CPUs. So it's kind of crazy, man. The heat exchanger, the all the plumbing required for the data center. It's you got to have like a modern setup. The rack spacing is also, I assume, has to be done in such a way where these are distanced from each other. Like I can't imagine putting a bunch of Helios racks in an aisle, like back to like side to side in a row like that, because of the amount of heat, because of the amount of electricity. So it's like these things probably have to be spaced apart to a certain degree. I know that Nvidia's next generation is going to be something similar, where I think the Kyber ones need to be spaced. Yeah, they're going Kyber crystals. Yeah, they're literally using lightsaber technology. They're using the name Kyber as the next generation. So it's amusing to talk about this on the sidelines, but it is actually one of those things where I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're gonna look back at this stuff and be like, man, we used to do things. I don't know, meaning I don't know if this technology is gonna improve where it becomes so much more
Did you
energy
saw
efficient.
IBM first 1.7 nanometer chip? Thoughts?
Um, well, 1.7 nanometer, that's similar to what Intel's doing with the angstroms. So it's interesting, but the thing is, we're gonna go sub nanometer real soon. That's why Intel is pushing the whole angstroms naming convention, because that's they're participating in more like standardizing in terms of the foundry. So I don't know if TSMC is going to start adopting the angstrom nomenclature for their future nodes, but Intel has moved on to the angstrom. IBM, it'd be interesting to see what they plan to do with the 1.7 nanometer chip, because IBM has a really interesting track record of putting like a really advanced node out there, and then you don't really see it in the consumer world. So I just don't know what the use cases will be for it. You know what I mean? Was there an article on that? So Intel 14A. Let me see. IBM 0.7 nanometer. You said 1.7 nanometer. 0.7 nanometer chip making technology shows America's semiconductor innovation still leads the world. Yeah, this is the thing that I was getting at. Like IBM has a really good advanced node, but what are the products that use this? An AI chip could increase its performance to 9,000 trillion operations per second from the current 4 4500 tops through 0.7 nanometer. So that's 7 angstrom technology. Okay. So the goal of it was to develop a new technique to bond two wafers to create a new multi-layered structure to create 3D transistors that can lead to the development of next generation computer chips. Okay. So I don't know if it's going to enable quantum. I still think quantum's going to need something that's more advanced than this. Like when I say quantum, I'm not talking about quantum scale. I'm talking about quantum computing. But it'll be interesting because I've been hearing about this for a number of years now, where it's like, oh, we need to move to quantum computing. You know, Elon Musk has gone on record saying that he thinks that humanity is going to hit a bottleneck or may already have falling into the bottleneck where they can't advance technology fast enough anymore to the point where there could be risk of stagnation. And he believes that the future is quantum computing. Quantum computing will be the next exponential growth factor for technology. But the problem is the process technology has not been able to like reach to that level where we can get on that trajectory to advance quantum computing. That's what he's saying. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like IBM is the sort of company that is on that sort of bleeding edge, though, when it comes to figuring out chip manufacturing for the future. Meaning, you're not going to see this show up in a laptop anytime soon, but it is something that it's used at the R&D level to see what paths exist for foundries to move towards. So TSMC will be interested in this. I mean, all the chip designers will be interested in this, but the foundry providers like TSMC, Intel, Samsung, those guys will be very interested in this because this is kind of the only way to get the sort of advancements we need to progress technology further. Because I've been thinking about this basically since 2 years ago. If you guys remember when Zen 5 came out, and then when when Arrow Lake came out in 2024, and in the case of Zen 5, there was the whole Zen 5% meme, and then there was the Intel negative, what was it, like Zen 5% and Intel Core Ultra negative 3.5% or something. I remember those memes, and I was thinking, man, those are just a sign of the time that technology is slowing down. Like, you're stuck on the same node. So what do? You have to introduce a new architecture. But without the node shrink that we typically rely on to get the massive performance uplifts that we're used to seeing, we're just not getting it anymore. It's like, okay, you can re-engineer your entire chip, and you might get, you know, if you're lucky, 15% uplift by doing things a different way or throwing more cash on there to basically brute force through unoptimized games occasionally. But, you know, you can only do so much that way before you hit a wall, and now your technology, now your newer products are barely justified over your old ones. So that has been my fear for the past like two to 3 years now. I've been realizing, yeah, it's not like how it was a decade ago where you'd see, well, not counting the whole like quad core 8 thread thing that we had for like 5 years of Intel. But if you go further back, if you go into like the 2000s decade, for example, technology improved so fast and so much that a CPU from like 2001, like a Pentium 3, compared to like a Nehalem Gulf Town in 2010, like the difference between those two chips, like a Pentium 3 at the start of the decade to a Intel Core 2, or what is like the first Intel i7, like in the 2000s decade, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Pentium 3 was Intel's latest and greatest around the turn of the century. And then maybe it was Pentium 2, but it was Pentium 2 or Pentium 3. And then you had, at the end of the decade, you had Intel's first ever i7, the Nehalem architecture with triple channel memory. So you think about in 10 years, the power of Nehalem versus the power of a Pentium 3. The amount of difference there. Now you fast forward to the next decade. So you have from 2010 to like 20, or you could say 2011 to 2020, or however you want to do it. Either way, like you take Sandy Bridge, Intel Sandy Bridge from 2011, and you look at the 10th gen Intel or the 9th gen Intel i9 99, or I guess we'll say the 10900K. Yeah, the 10th gen, because that was pandemic. So the i9 10900K versus the Sandy Bridge i7 2600K. Yeah, the i9's way better, but how much better is the i9 over the old i7 versus like the first i7 or the Sandy Bridge i7 versus the Pentium 3? You see what I'm saying? So I think the performance uplift from 2000 to 2010 is more noticeable than like 2010 to 2020. Although some might argue that maybe last decade's was really good, but yeah, the core counts went up, but I don't know if the performance really improved that much. It did improve, but you're talking like DDR3 to DDR4 versus like something before DDR1 to DDR3. Like I don't see. I feel like there's more of a change from the previous decade. 2 nanometer. Nothing but remakes coming out. Wouldn't be surprised if they remake Max Payne 3. Huh. Yeah, we'll see. I just think that I think that we're gonna start seeing longer lifespans between, I guess not lifespans. We're gonna start seeing longer gaps between CPU and GPU generations. I think that is the next thing we can expect to see. Meaning the time between the RTX 5090 and the RTX 6090 is going to be longer than the time between the 4090 to 5090. So if you look at this, here we go. Let's just do some overlaps here. (2019) 2021, 23, 25, 26, oh no, 27, 29. Okay. So if we look here, 2016, 2018, or you know what? Let's do it another way. Well, this is, I don't know. Okay, whatever. We'll just do the TIs. No, let's do the 80s. Well, let's do the 80s because there's not always, they started messing with the 80 TIs. So we're going to do GTX 1080, 2016. I don't know why I put odd numbers. I should have put even numbers. This is 2016. Then 2018. RTX 2080 was 2018. I don't know what I was thinking putting odd numbers for NVIDIA GPUs when NVIDIA launches on even numbers historically. Okay, so 2080, 2018. And then we have, yeah, I messed this up real bad. 2020, RTX 3080. So notice this. 2016, 1080. 2018, 2080. 2020, 3080. Let's keep going. Man, I messed this up so bad. 2022. Now we're gonna. I didn't want to put all these years in here, but whatever. This is how it ended up being. RTX 4080 was 2022. Look at that. So, okay, NVIDIA went and pulled a fast one and delayed by 1/4. Combo breaker. 2025 instead of when it was supposed to be 2024. So that's where things started changing. So you did, there was this, there was this, there was this, there was this, there was whoa. So so the other way to look at this is how many months was that? How many months? I might need Tech Power Up to look at this actually. Yeah, I might need Tech Power Up for this. So I can calculate the months. RTX 2080. RTX 2080, September 2018. The 1080 was like May. So May 27th. So what is that? Like 4 months apart here. So 4 plus 2 years. So 28 months. Why am I drawing it like this? Okay, 28 months apart. Is that correct? 28 months. 28 months between those two. Because this was September of 2018. RTX 3080 was September of 2020. So this one was actually a shorter lifespan. This one was 24 months. $24 months between those two. So that would have been September 1st. September 1st. So then RTX 4080. This was September again. Okay. Wait, really? I thought the 4090 was first. Is that correct? No, that's wrong. It's November. Why are they saying September? Okay. So this is 24 plus 2. That's 26. This is 26 months. 26 months apart. And then the distance or the time span between the 4080, which was November 2022, to 5080, which was January. So that was 24 plus 2. Wait, was it really only that short? So it was, oh, it's 27. Okay, maybe it was really that short. 27 months. It's actually, okay, that doesn't look that bad then. It's because it was January then. Okay. Maybe I'm overthinking it then, because that's only 27. That's actually 1 month shorter than the 1080 to the 2080. So it's actually not that bad. Although they still missed by 1/4 though. But this was a spring launch. This is fall. This was winter. So the time where they stretched, when they do these 27, 28 month cycles, that's when they stretch. So I suspect we're going to see another one of these 20 month. Now let's figure this out actually, because there's enough math, there's enough patterns here to predict this window. So you just add like 28 months or so. So this thing, when was this again? January. So 24 would be January next year. So you add like 4 more? So it would be around like April or May. So yeah, it would be around April or May. I was saying May because I remember what I said last time. I said they're gonna realign. They're gonna bring out the 6080 in the time that they brought out the 1080, which would mean spring, basically Q2 of next year, is my expectation for 6080, 6090 graphics cards. So we're gonna see another one of these like 28-month cycle somewhere around here, approximately 28 months to wait. So May of next year, somewhere around there. I mean, it's kind of easy to do it when you look at it this way. Okay, so this is maybe I'm wrong then, because this isn't really that. To me, even going as far this is a good exercise because this is looking at a 10-year period. This is technically going to be 11 years. This encompasses. We are in 2026. We're in 2026. 10 years ago, the GTX 1080 was the fastest graphics card. It was brand new. May 2016. A decade old. The last of the GTX. Pascal, the 10 series. 2016. So it's been 10. I can't believe it's been 10 years, man. 10 years. 10 years. And here we are. That's why we did a retro stream. Oh, I don't even know if you can call it retro stream. Recently, if you guys are watching the gaming live streams, we were looking at GTX 1080 SLI for gaming. Can you still game on two 1080s using SLI in 2026? The answer is yes, you can, but you're going to be at like 1080p max resolution at best. Unless you're playing like old games. And when I say old games, I'm saying like nothing newer than like 2020 or 2021. Basically, don't play any Unreal Engine 5 games or anything with like software-based Lumen or any of that stuff. It's like, yeah, that's not good. With GTX 1080 SLI, because ray tracing and post-processing effects killed off multi-GPU. Do you feel old just thinking about I mean, 10 years, man. 10 years is a long time. But if we go even further back, somebody commented earlier about the GPUs in the 90s were awesome. Dude, if you think the 1080 makes you feel old, think about the GPUs from the 90s. 3D FX. Voodoo. Is it Voodoo or Voo? Is it Voodoo? Is it Voodoo 3? Voodoo 3? 3DFX? VIA? ATI? NVIDIA? Where are my 90s GPU brands at? Where are my 90s GPUs? Remember Diamond? Diamond ended up, I think, going out of business, and then they ended up like repackaging like ATI or something. Voodoo 3, man. Voodoo 3. 3DFX. Or was it 3DFS? Oh, yeah. Creative. Yeah. Carmageddon? Wait, what? Is that real? is that a real one? I don't remember that one. Graphic accelerators, adding... Yeah, Aegea. But that was more like early 2000s. Metronks. Mm-hmm. The 90s, man. The 90s. FX, Voodoo 3. I know there's some other ones I'm forgetting. Was SIS another one? Silicon Systems or something? I forgot. I think they did like integrated graphics on the actual motherboards back in the day. I'm forgetting. SIS, was it SIS Graphics? SIS Graphics. Silicon Integrated Systems. Yeah, that was one. SIS. I don't know if they actually made GPUs though. ATI, man. ATI and NVIDIA. So there was the big war. The 90s was basically the GPU wars. 1990s was all about GPU free for all. It was a GPU free for all. Like a massive melee. Super Smash Bros. Was a game from the 90s on the N64. This was 90s era GPUs. And it changed fast. You had companies come and go. You had startups randomly start doing GPUs overnight. And then you had them go out of business like 2 years later. You had NVIDIA literally almost go out of business like 3 or 4 times. Like the famous one was the whole thing with Sega. With the Sega Dreamcast. How that kind of fell through. And then Sega still ended up paying them. And they didn't go out of business because of that. Even though they failed to make the Dreamcast. So Sega ended up going with somebody else for the Dreamcast. But yeah, man, that was the Wild West. And by the end of the 90s, though I think there were VIA, I think was still around. Voodoo got bought out by somebody. I think NVIDIA. 3DFX got bought up by NVIDIA. Diamond stopped making their own, and they ended up they basically became reseller of ATI. Creative stopped doing GPUs. Creative, I think, they're the ones that were still doing like soundboards and stuff. And then Metronks, I don't know what happened to Metronks. And Silicon, I think these guys stopped doing GPUs. VIA bought SIS. Really? Maybe they bought their graphics division. Because I think SIS is still around. They just don't do graphics cards anymore. By the end of the 90s, I think there was really only like these guys. Well, okay, technically we won't count Diamond anymore because Diamond stopped making their own. It was really VIA, ATI, and NVIDIA, if I remember correctly. But VIA eventually just stopped competing with them for like actual gaming cards. So it really ended up emerging with just ATI and NVIDIA. So you had the Americans, aka NVIDIA, and the Canadians, which were the ATI. So you had Canada and America as the remaining companies that did graphics cards. It's strange because I always thought like, okay, wasn't IBM doing graphics cards also? But not graphics cards, but wasn't IBM doing like graphics boards for like Sony or somebody? I forgot. They did buy the graphics division. Okay, that I can believe that. Yeah, the 90s was a crazy time. That was a crazy time. Um yeah, I missed out on all of that. I built my first computer in the 2000s, so I know about this. I know about the history. It's just I've read about the history and people have told me the stories of how things were in the 90s, but unfortunately for me, I never experienced the GPU wars of the 90s. So I don't have a whole lot to say on it other than to say that you had a lot more choices. And if you were a game studio or if you were a platform developer, like for example, if you were Sony working on PlayStation 1 or maybe PlayStation 2, or if you were Nintendo, you had a lot of different companies you could go to in order to evaluate who you wanted to go with for your graphics. Because remember the famous story, right? Sega went with NVIDIA for what would have been the successor to the Sega Saturn. It would eventually become the Dreamcast, but Nvidia invested in something called forward rendering instead of inverse rendering. And it turned out forward rendering was the wrong choice, and that almost put Nvidia out of business. And he literally had to fly to Japan and tell Sega that unfortunately Nvidia has literally failed and we can't make your console. We can't make it. It's not going to happen. But I need you to pay me the money. And Sega did it, and Nvidia's still alive. Nvidia would have died. Nvidia would have gone under in the 90s if Sega never paid them the money. That is kind of crazy to stop and think about for a second. Because if Sega never paid Nvidia the money for a failed botched chip design that would have ultimately failed to create the Dreamcast, Nvidia would have exited the GPU war in like 1995. They would have gone out of business in 1995 or maybe like early 1996 if Sega didn't pay them the money. It's like Sega paid them the money and got nothing. Now I say that up front, it looks like Sega got nothing, but they did end up getting, I think, some kind of equity in Nvidia. I don't know to the tune of how much money that ended up becoming, but I think the founder of Sega paid Jensen the money, got nothing, but I think he negotiated some kind of stake in Nvidia. I think that's what ended up happening. But they would have gone away, man. Like if he didn't pay them, if he was like, "No, you can't have my money. Go away. You failed. You're a disgrace." If that was his response, if he reacted that way, Nvidia was done. They were cooked, man. They would have been out. They would have never been able to acquire Voodoo and all those other guys. Like, would not have happened. And we would right now we would probably be living in a completely alternate reality because there'd be a reality where there's no Nvidia. Imagine what the world would be like today in 2026 if Sega didn't pay Jensen the money in 1995 and they went out of business and just disappeared. How would things be different today, man? That's kind of weird to think about that. Yeah, imagine if 3DFX hadn't squandered their profits. The world would be very, very different right now. The Voodoo Glide API. Imagine if all that stuff was still around with modern technology, modern processor technology, modern silicon chip design, TSMC manufacturing nodes. Imagine a Voodoo 2 instead of a Voodoo. Man, what was Voodoo's like last GPU? Voodoo 3, was it the 3500? No, 3000? The Voodoo 3 3DFX Voodoo 3 3000 AGP. The Avenger. 1999, man. 1999. April 3rd, 1999. Voodoo 3. Oh, wait, successor was Voodoo 4. Hold up. Voodoo 4 never released. Oh, wait, there's a PCI. Oh, wait, hold on. There's a Voodoo 4 4500. Voodoo 4 4500 AGP. 128-bit bus. 3DFX. October 13th, 2000. Yeah, the 5 was never released. 2 ROPs. 2 ROPs. 32 megabytes of SDR. Look at that. Look at that in all its glory. AGP. Who here remembers AGP? Is that AGP? Yeah, that's AGP. Oh, it literally says AGP. Man, AGP. AGP. I remember when I built my first computer, My cousin was so jealous of me because my GPU, the very first computer I built, had a graphics card in it called ATI X850 XT. Was it this one? Yeah, this one. This is my very first graphics card. I built my very first computer to play a game that you guys might have heard of. It was called, I mean it's still around today, World of Warcraft in 2006. That was when I built my very first computer, and this was my very first graphics card, and my cousin was so jealous because my graphics card had PCI Express. PCI 1.0, 16 lanes, and his graphics card was AGP. AGP. And then he tried to argue at first that AGP was better than PCIe. Well, okay. I think there was a confusion. There was confusion because there was a third cousin that started like taking sides, siding with me because we were saying PCI Express is better than AGP, and he's like, no, it's not. AGP is better than PCI, and I'm like, dude, you are incorrect. My graphics card is PCIe, and it's well, no, we were so dumb back then. We didn't even realize that he was technically correct, and so were we, because we were thinking PCI Express. He was thinking PCI, like old school PCI, not PCIe, regular PCI. So he is actually correct when he said AGP is better than PCI. He was not incorrect, but there was confusion between us because he was coming at it from the angle of AGP is better than PCI. I was coming at it from the angle of PCI Express is better than AGP. And he was like, no, you were wrong. I'm like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. And then there was a third cousin, and the third cousin was like, actually, like, you know, actually, you're both technically correct, but you're leaving out one key thing, and it is the letter E in the word express. Express. I'll never forget. This is how I mastered the technology differences between PCI Express, AGP, and PCI. Because he was like, no, he's like, his GPU is better than your AGP because he's using a newer technology called PCI Express. It's not PCI, it's PCI Express. And he was like, PCI graphics cards are worse than AGP, but AGP graphics cards are worse than PCI Express graphics cards. So he's like, the tier list is PCI Express, AGP, PCI, like that. And that was how I understood it, man. Like, I don't know how it was in the night. I assume in the 90s there was no such thing as PCI Express. See, I don't have an AGP or a PCI graphics card. I've only ever had graphics cards that are PCI Express. So I don't have any experience building computers with AGP or PCI. But I remember my motherboard had an AGP slot, and it also had a lot of PCI slots for things like sound cards and stuff, or like USB add-in cards. But yeah, that was like early mid 2000s. Those were the flex back in the day. Well, you know what the real flex was? The real flex was you get one of these, and then you go and you get where is it? Where's the Crossfire one? Because I thought they had like Crossfire edition or something. Yeah, this stuff. Remember? The real flex was you had this, and then you got this, and then you put them with that cable to crossfire them for dual graphics cards. Dual graphics cards was like the flex back in the day, man. That was the flex with that plastic. They didn't have glass on computers back then. It was plastic side case with dual graphics cards with a crossfire cable running out the back of your computer to bridge those two GPUs together, or the NVIDIA SLI. So, and then they got those bridges later on for crossfire. But yeah, that was the flex. That was the flex, man. Single 6-pin. Single 6-pin with the crossfire edition. September 2006. So this card didn't even come out until after I built my computer. I built my computer, I think, in like July. It was like June or July of 2006. That was when I built my first computer. And this wasn't even the latest GPU at the time. Yeah, this thing came out December 1st, 2004. So I was buying into this generation when it wasn't even like the latest gen anymore. That was the thing. Like you guys we were okay, this is actually in tune with what we were talking about earlier, where generations between GPUs are going to get longer. Slowly, they're going to get longer. Man, if you look at the 2000s, I don't know how it was in the 90s. I know that in the 90s, there were a lot of different brands. There were a lot of different vendors to choose from. There was a lack of standardization. That's why you had companies like NVIDIA making these big bets on forward-based rendering versus inverse rendering. And you had 3DFX Voodoo, you had VIA, ATI, Diamond, Creative. You had all these guys just making all these like boutique random graphics architectures, and then game developers, game studios, console manufacturers, they'd all go to these different companies, and it was a big deal if you could secure like a console deal. Like if you were going to make a chip for Sony's PlayStation or the next Nintendo or the Sega Dreamcast. Like that was the thing that you wanted to aspire to do if you were one of these companies, because that would secure your company's future for a very long time. Because once you become the provider, like if you provide the chip for like the Sega Dreamcast, for example, then you're locked in for that 7 years life cycle. And then provided you maintain a good relationship with the console company like Sega or whoever, then they might use you again for their next generation. I mean, look at AMD, how that's paid dividends for AMD over the last decade now. Because AMD secured PS4, they secured Xbox One, and then they re-secured PS5 and Xbox Series X, and then they are now re-securing Project Helix and PlayStation 6. So it's like, yeah, that maintains the company's future if you were a small graphics board company, you know, like if you were just doing chip design like how ATI was doing back in the day. So that was the thing in the 90s. In the 2000s, that still maintained its business model. The only difference is now you have less companies to choose from. You only had ATI or NVIDIA. VIA was kind of around. IBM was still doing stuff. But realistically, you had only like, you know, you had less than half a dozen companies to choose from now versus like a dozen or more that you could go to in the 90s. And then now it's gotten even smaller. Like the pool just got smaller and smaller. So yeah, it's interesting looking back on this technology, but now I remember what I was going to say. The next generation GPUs, they would come out like every year. It was like every year you got a new graphics card. Like, or not, you didn't have to get a new graphics card, but there was a new graphics card. So, like, case in point, this was my first graphics card. This thing was a flagship graphics card in December of 2004 and throughout like most of 2005. But I didn't even get this thing until 2006, like halfway into 2006. This thing wasn't even the latest and greatest anymore. But here's the nice thing about how things were in the 2000s. You could go with last gen graphics cards. Like I literally went with last gen because I think the the X 1800 or the X 1900 or 1950 XT or XTX was the latest and greatest when I got this. I saved a ton of money. I think I paid $140, $145 for this graphics card. I don't even know what the original. Yeah, this thing retailed brand new when it launched at 500 US dollars. I paid 100. I think I paid like 140 to 150. It was definitely somewhere under 150 for this graphics card, brand new when I built the computer. I got it off a Newegg back in the day, and it wasn't the latest and greatest, but boy, it could run World of Warcraft with everything maxed out at 1280 by 1024 5:4 aspect ratio on a 17-inch LCD. It was good. It was good. That's all I needed to do, and I ran this thing until like 2010. I ran this thing for 4 years. Imagine running this GPU for like half a decade essentially, before upgrading. So, like prior to that, like from this point, after this GPU, I started upgrading like in the 3 year cycles. Because I used to do, well, like I just said, like nearly half a decade. I think I did 4 years total, 4 to 4.5 years with this GPU until I finally upgraded. And that was mainly because StarCraft 2 and some other games were just, it was really, really struggling to run those games. This thing couldn't even do like DX11. I think it was stuck on DX9 or something like that. And yeah, by the time I was thinking of upgrading, DX11 wasn't really a thing when I upgraded, but DX11 was something that people kept talking about, and I was like, yeah, the GPU is kind of old now, but it still works, man. I still have this graphics card. It never let me down. But boy, did things change really fast. Things changed really fast back in the day compared to now. Maximum PC. The demo disc. There was a bunch of magazines too, not just Maximum PC. There was also was it EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly? I remember back in the day, what were those TV like G4 TV with Attack of the Show and X Play, and they would occasionally do computer stuff. Who here remembers Pure Ownage? Who here remembers Pure Ownage, man? Hold on, where's Paint? Why is Paint not on the, okay. Who remembers this? Pure Ownage. Who remembers Pure Ownage? Pure Ownage, man. The first internet web series that was literally like gamer and PC. Well, it wasn't just PC gaming. I mean, it was like just gamer subculture. But man, that Pure Ownage was before like YouTube. It started out before YouTube became popular, and I think by the time the show ended, like by the time the web series ended in 2008, I believe, YouTube was a thing by then. But man, Pure Ownage was the thing. That was the OG, man. This web series, if you haven't seen this, you should definitely check this out. It's funny because there's an episode. There is literally an episode, man. Episode Lanageddon. Lanageddon is like the episode to watch if you're into PCs, because there's a whole segment. There's like a music video in that episode. I think it's episode 8, Lanageddon, where the guy, his GPU like blows up or melts in the tournament, in like a Counter-Strike tournament, And he's like, "What am I gonna do? How am I gonna compete in the tournament now? Like my computer." It's like, "I don't know. Your computer blew up and melted." And then like someone like calls up the owner, and then like the owner goes and makes a phone call to some, I don't know, like some main gear type company. And then there's this whole music video where they're literally building a computer in the music video. You see them assembling the GPU and the CPU and everything. Oh man, that was the peak. That was the pinnacle of like PC gaming. And the crazy thing about it, now that I think about it, because a few weeks ago we were talking about the golden age of gaming, and the golden age of gaming was basically it depends on who you are. Like, depends on what you consider the golden age. But PS3, Xbox 360, Wii. This is a lot of people consider that the golden age of gaming, and that just so happens to also be like the pure ownage era. It's kind of crazy. I was like, whoa, man, whoa. Like late PS2, early like first half, end of PS2, and like the first part of the PS3 generation. That was like the golden age. That was the golden age of gaming because you still had easy access to all the great games from like the 90s, like SNES, N64, PS1, PS2, and then you had PS3 and Xbox 360 really usher in HD graphics, 720p, 16 by 9 gaming, and in some cases 1080p gaming. And then with the PC space, you had that slow transition. So in the PC world, because a lot of people seem to forget, man, the PC gaming changed during that era as well. PC gaming went from 4x3 or 5x4 to 16 by 10 or 16 by 9 aspect ratio. This is the transition that happened in that time period. So that's all like 2000s decade. This is interesting. We're talking about the 90s and the greatness of the 90s and the GPUs in the 90s. But man, the 2000s though. It's like I don't know too much about the 90s, gaming in the 90s, but I can talk all day about the 2000s era. 2000s I know. Cuz that era I know like the back of my hand. When I think 2000s, I think PlayStation 2, World of Warcraft, and PlayStation 3. Like the first part of PlayStation 3. That was like the golden era. The golden era. This was the time of MMO 2.0. MMO 2.0. What is an MMO 2.0? WoW. Guild Wars. Lineage? Lineage 2? I can't remember. I didn't play too many of those other ones, but I can tell you World of Warcraft is the example, the prime example. I'm not talking about Retail WoW today. Retail WoW today is MMO 3.0. But I'm talking vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, and Wrath of the Lich King. Those are second generation MMO. What is MMO 1? Well, I'll just say WoW, Guild Wars, etc. But outside of this, before this era, or like the very beginning, like PS2 era, you had MMO 1.0. This is EverQuest. This is Final Fantasy 11. Final Fantasy 11 and EverQuest, maybe EverQuest 2. RuneScape, those are 1.0, first generation MMO. Yes, exactly. That is the difference between first generation MMO like EverQuest and Final Fantasy 11 and second generation MMO, which is World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft revolutionized the whole MMO genre, ushering in what I refer to as the second generation, or MMO 2.0. What we play now is not MMO 2.0. Retail WoW today is MMO 3.0 or maybe 4.0. But Final Fantasy 14 is a third generation MMO. And Retail WoW I would consider also a third generation MMO. But man, World of Warcraft back in the day, man, everybody, almost everyone I knew, not everybody I knew, but like almost all the people in my peer group at the time, tons of people like outside of my friend group, everybody I could, it's like the amount of people that were playing World of Warcraft was insane back in like 2006, 2000, basically from like 2005. The game came out in 2004. I didn't start playing it until like second half of 2005. So the game had already been out before I ever played it. But that whole Leroy Jenkins era, all the memes, before memes were considered memes, and you had all kinds of people that were playing WoW, and it's crazy to think that when I was playing World of Warcraft, it was fascinating to me that you had people that were like retail managers playing World of Warcraft. You had couples playing World of Warcraft. You had people who would go on to start their own business, but they played World of Warcraft back in the day, and they were managing a raid group at once upon a time. The amount of like people communication skills that you developed naturally by organizing a guild and schedules for like work schedules, school schedules, to get people to be able to play together at a certain time, to do raiding in Molten Core. Man, there was like nothing like this. It was like the fact that this existed when it did was so novel and so unique of an experience that, man, it was the golden age of gaming. The golden age of gaming started pre-WoW and like ended like post-WoW, like post Mist of Pandaria, like during the PS3 era, transition from PS3 to PS4. That was like the sunsetting of the golden age of gaming. It was crazy. And outside of that, like you think about how online gaming changed, because online gaming, okay, unless you were someone who was playing, um, unless you were playing like Counter Strike, but think about Xbox Live, Xbox Live, Xbox Live transformed online multiplayer gaming. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you remember Halo 2, Halo 2, man, Halo 2 on OG Xbox with Xbox Live, and you go inside the lobby, and there's like there's like some kid in there screaming at the top of their lungs, and there's like people trying to have some kind of conversation, some sidebar conversation about like whatever, like, oh, you want to go see the new Batman movie from Christopher Nolan or whatever. It's like, and then there's like somebody like screaming about whatever, like saying like someone's cheating, hacks, this guy's cheating, like, oh, it's like, get good, son. It's like it's like, dude, man, the Xbox 360 amped this up to the max. Because I remember playing Halo 2 on Xbox, and I got so sick and tired of listening to the open mic chat. Like, I literally took off my headset, and I gave it to my friend or my cousin or whoever was in the room at the time. I handed them the headset. And so I go on, and I'm playing the game, and I'm, like, focusing in the zone, man. I'm going sword mode. I'm doing one shot. I'm, like, jumping down on people with boom, like, with a sword on Halo 2, and I'm just running around. And meanwhile, My cousin is wearing my Xbox Live headset. He just starts talking to the people, man. He just starts striking up conversations with people in the game. I'm focusing on the game, but he's wearing my head. He's like doing the talking. He's like doing the smack talking while I'm playing. I'm focusing. It's like, what is this? Man, it was such an experience. It was such an experience. It was hilarious. Oh man, the nostalgia of Halo 2 back in the day. And this continued into Xbox 360, COD 4, man. Call of Duty 4. I guess Gears of War, I guess initially, but COD 4, that's where it was. That's where it was. That was the pinnacle. Halo 3. Halo 3 and COD 4, the pinnacle of the I don't even know what you refer to that. Like the open mic nonsense that you'd have to listen to. The trash talking garbage in the Xbox Live lobby of Halo 3 or COD 4. Yeah, man. Golden age of gaming. Golden age of gaming. Modern Warfare 2 was also really big. Man. Where were we again? What were we talking about? Okay, well, we're talking about, we got so sidetracked. We got so sidetracked. I don't even know what else I was planning to talk about besides the 6080 stuff getting stretched. But now that I think about it, it's not stretched that much. Let me go back here. Is there something that I wanted to bring up? Um, oh, I guess we can talk about like some roadmap stuff. Zen 7. Zen 7 2028, Zen 8 2030, CPU architectures. EPYC Florence Zen 7 to feature next generation node, DDR6 memory, and ACE extensions or ACE extensions. So if you look here, this roadmap. Actually, maybe I should move this back over here real quick. So 2025 MI350. That's the current generation. And an MI400 and MI500. So the I think it's the MI450 is the new flagship one right now. So this is the stuff that's going in the Helios alongside the new Zen 6 based EPYC. So Zen 6 based EPYC looks like this. So you can see they announced SP7 socket for Florence, SP8 socket for Enterprise. And then there's the big Helios double width rack. And Fidenza. They're going Fidenza. The Agentic Sandbox. Optimized for performance system for what? I hope those things are using fiber cables instead of copper. Because, man, the amount of copper. And, okay, we already... Wait, are these two of the same thing? Okay, here is the interesting thing that AMD showed off this week. Literally today. They showed all this today. MI500. They're claiming the next leap in AI performance greater than 2,000 times increase in 4 years. That means there's some kind of insane breakthrough that they've made going from MI400 to MI500. Because the last time I saw a chart that looks like this from AMD was when they came out with Zen. Like Zen versus Bulldozer was like this type of thing. So this is some giant improvement from the RDNA or CDNA 4 to CDNA 5. How will this translate into the gaming GPUs? I don't know. But Helios is their rack scale solution. And it is unique because it is double width and 7,000 pounds. So, and you can see in here the Epic Venice in 2026, that's this year, with MI 455X. The crazy thing about this is when I see stuff like this, I'm just thinking for a second, if I was the AI customer and I see this, it's like, do I buy now or do I just wait? If the thing that's coming out in the future is 2000x faster than the current thing, do I want to buy this thing now or do I just want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of, this is the reason why companies have to be very careful with their roadmap slides, because they can generate so much hype for the next generation sometimes that people just don't want to buy the current stuff, because it's like this completely deflates the hype around their current stuff if they show something like, oh, look, our next generation is so much better than the current one. So I don't know. It's interesting. Verano Epic is with Helios 500. Helios 500 is actually, yeah, MI 500 is on there, but they're only showing MI 500. But notice that they show MI 600 for 2028, but they don't show it on here. And there's probably a good reason why they don't do that. So I don't know how much of this we can look at and glean information on. Oh, this kind of means that the next generation consumer graphics cards are going to be like so much better than the current one. Now, AMD, my expectation for the next generation of AMD graphics cards is that they kind of have to be like a lot faster than the current generation, like all like leaps and bounds. We're talking like minimum 90% faster, if not well over 100% faster than the 7900 XTX. Because the 7900 XTX, if you were to place it on this timeline, it would literally be down here right next to the MI 300X. And there hasn't been a new AMD flagship in 3.5 years. So if the next generation is coming out next year, oh, it needs to be like really, really fast, because they skipped what looks like 2 entire generations. Maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They've skipped an entire generation. There was no RDNA 4 like flagship series. 9070 XT was not a flagship GPU. So it's kind of like the 5700 XT. So you had Vega 64, and then you had Radeon 7, which was so short-lived. Radeon 7, you can think of it like, oh, Radeon 7 is like 7900 XTX, and the 5700 XT is like 9070 XT. So your next thing, it's like you can kind of infer what the next GPU should be like if you just do the comparison. Because AMD tends to have these patterns. Like, if we do Radeon 7, if we're doing a proportion, Radeon 7 is to the, what is the thing? 7900 XTX as 5700 XT is to 9070 XT. Therefore, 6900 XT is to blank. See? So, meaning, how much faster? Well, this is generation to generation. This is mid-range to, like, flagship. I don't know if this is going to be an accurate comparison, but if we do this just for the sake of research here, like if I take the RX 5700 XT, and if I go and look at the 6900 XT. Oh, the 6900 XT is 102% faster. So, well, it says 202% faster, but if this is 100%, then this is 102%. So it should be, yeah, the next generation AMD card should be around 100% or better than the 7900 XTX. So that's my expectation. And I'm pretty sure internally this is a similar engineering goal that they would have, considering the amount of time. The crazy thing is this was like a 2019 GPU, and the 1600 XT was a 2020 GPU. Now, granted, it was a late 2020 GPU, so it was basically like 18 months apart between this and the 1600 XT. So we can basically take the 5700 XT successor, which is the 9070 XT, and we can infer that the next AMD card will be like 110% faster than this, which basically means AMD's next flagship will definitely be faster than the 5090. Because the 5090, according to this, is 80% faster than the 9070 XT. And the next AMD card should be 100% or more like 110% faster, if not more, considering the amount of time that has gone by. And that's the reason why something like this doesn't really seem out of the picture anymore. Like, it doesn't seem like this sounds too optimistic the more I think about it, considering how much time has gone by. Okay. Framework increased their prices and took away 32GB RAM from pre-orders. There's no more 32GB option. So it looks like Zen 7 on Epic is DDR6. This is all agentic AI era. So, does that make sense? When looking at these things, I need to correlate it with time frames because that's how I make sense of things. So if you look, DDR3 was from what, 2008 to 2014? DDR3? DDR4 was 2014 to 2022. Or 2021. Well, 2022. Well, 2021. Okay. DDR5 is 2021. Hold up. What is this? This is 7 years? That's like 6 to 7 years about. So we can say 7 years. So we can say 2028 is the end of the DDR5 era. So basically DDR6 is 2028 to whatever. So that makes sense. This makes sense. See, the thing is, if you try to predict future technology, a safe bet is to always look at the old technology. Because these things follow patterns. Because you got to remember how these things work. You've got standards, you've got JEDEC, you got IEEE, you got all these guys that sit around all day and they ponder the universe and technology and where things should be and how it took to develop and write the standards for that one technology. It's like, oh, well, we did DDR3 back in the day. That was like 7 years. So then we did DDR4. That was like 7 years. Now we're doing DDR5, and that's going to be 7 years. So DDR6 is probably going to also be 7 years. So it seems like it's 7 years. 7 years seems like a safe bet for a memory standard, for a console life cycle, because it's like, okay, we can do the same exact thing. PS3 2006, 2013, PS4 2013, 2020, PS5 2020, 2027. So it's like patterns are starting to emerge. Patterns are definitely starting to emerge. PS6 2027, add 7 years. It's like, recently there was all these people saying, "Oh, Sony should delay the PS6 because of the memory shortage." Well, they're not going to do that. All they're going to do is adjust price accordingly. And if it sells really bad for the first year, then so be it. That's the reality. That's just how things are. They're not going to change a standard pattern, because what are they going to do? They're going to like hold back a launch, have the console not sell, have inventory of it but not sell it, and then it just ages in the warehouses, all the while depreciating in gaming generation value, because it'll be weaker. It'll appear far weaker if they wait than when they launch it when it's supposed to launch. So no, they would never do that. Like it's definitely coming November of next year. In fact, we're gonna get that whole Mark Cerny, the road to PS6 presentation sometime in the spring of next year. Just you wait and see. So the hype cycle for PS6 will start building probably early next year, all throughout next year, almost like it's some kind of election year, in the sense that you're going to hear more and more and more about PS6 all throughout 2027 until it finally launches in November of that year. So it's like clockwork. These things are basically standard. The only difference is the memory shortages have created a problem. The memory problem due to AI, data center infrastructure build out has created this sting where it's like, oh, I don't feel like upgrading my computer because I only have DDR4 and I don't want to buy DDR5 because it's too expensive, like, to be honest, if you're building a computer and you're only going to use 32 gigs of DDR5, it's really not terrible. Now, the SSDs are really, really bad value right now, uh, regardless of the capacity. There's no denying that. But if you're, like, when I look at 32 gigs of DDR5, yeah, it's expensive, but it's still obtainable. The amount of memory that is unobtainable is like anything greater than 32 gigs. Like, if you want 48 gigs, if you want 64 gigs, or heaven forbid you want 96 gigs or 128 gigs, then there are some serious problems. There are some serious problems in terms of the pricing structure right now. So that's where the big problem is. But the PS6, I want to say the console's going to have like 32 gigs of system memory unified total. Might even be 24. So, and it's a console. So it's like, I really don't know if the BOM cost of it is going to be outrageous to the point where Sony has to charge like $1,500 or more for the console. Now, do I think the PS6 is going to be $1,000? I think at minimum it's going to be around $1,000 to $1,200. I can't see it any lower than that price. That's kind of the floor going into next year's pricing because of memory and all this other stuff. Because there's also the storage. There's flash storage and there's memory, and those things directly affect the bill of material or the BOM cost, and that's the reason why everyone's talking, oh, they should delay, it's too expensive. No, they can't delay because they've already secured the contracts for manufacturing. I mean, the thing is already a done deal, guys. Like, it's already locked in. PS6 internally, all the specs are finalized. They already have the working silicon. It's already done now. Like, all they're doing now is they're finalizing the developer kits, and they're gonna start seeding those to their studios. Like, first parties getting them probably now, and then the third parties get them like in like less than the next 3 months. So it's happening now. There's no way it's not coming out next year. But it's literally, November next year. What's stopping them from salvaging? Well, because it's probably using DDR5. It's probably using LPDDR or LPDDR5 or DDR5. In fact, it's not using DDR5. It's probably using GDDR5 or no, probably not DDR5. It's GDDR6. It's either using GDDR6, GDDR7, or LPDDR5X. If I had to guess, it's probably using GDDR6 or 7. If it's using GDDR7, then I can see some potential problems with supply. But I don't know. I just don't think that it's that bad. I think what's really bad is the memory for storage, like the flash storage, because they need to offer 2 gigs of storage internally. They might walk it back and only do 1 terabyte of storage because of NAND flash being out of whack. So I don't know. It will be using GDDR7. Okay, that actually makes sense. That actually makes sense. I wasn't sure if it was GDDR6 or GDDR7. It's one of those two. But yeah, no, PS6 is gonna be. It's gonna be a pretty good device overall. I just think that it's gonna enter a market. Now, here's the thing, guys. We don't know what's gonna happen in the next like 18 months. It's like the whole market, the whole AI thing. Everything that I've looked at and seen and heard and read tells me that all of next year is basically going to be like this year. Meaning, we're not going to see the price of things go down throughout next year. I think that everything's going to stay elevated. People are talking about the new normal. There was an article recently, I don't even know if I want to try to find it because it's very depressing, where some tech company CEO somewhere was found saying that the memory shortage is going to last for the next 10 years. Now, I don't know if I believe that. I mean, that sounds very extreme. Like 10 years of a memory shortage? Like a decade? Really? We just talked about how the 1080 is 10 years now. Can you imagine from the time of the 5080 for the next 10 years there's a memory shortage? Like, can you imagine that? I really don't believe that. But there was someone saying that the memory shortage is going to last for a decade. I don't think so. A data, you're right. It was A data. Yeah. It was A data. Yeah. Yeah, it was A data. Yes, all right, let's look at it. A data chairman warns the DRAM shortage will last another 10 years. Keep in mind, A data resells RAM. Says the AI bubble talk can wait until 2040? 2040? What? Dude, if that is true, I am done with PC hardware. I'm done, man. Like, if that's for real, it's time to get a new hobby. It's time to get a new hobby. For real. Like, no. I gotta take up like fishing or hunting or something. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. If that's true, if this is true, coming from A data, and A data sells RAM. So A data is the real deal, man. This is coming from the real deal. The chairman has spoken. Like Iron Chef, it's the chairman who's talking. You gotta listen. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be like, oh, no, he's fake news. No, this is coming from the A data chairman. A data's chairman has said that there's no need to discuss the AI bubble yet since DRAM shortages will last. 2040? Dude, 2040 is like 14 years from now. That isn't a decade. That's 14 years. 14 years of waiting. It's like that one movie, Jumanji. What are they saying in that movie? In the jungle, you must wait till the dice read 5 or 8. So basically, in the jungle, you must wait until 2040 for your DRAM. You might as well just go get another hobby. Just go live in the jungle. For real. Following TSMC's recent stock decline after its earnings call, ADATA's chairman quickly responded to questions about whether this could be a signal of the AI bubble popping up. Chairman Chen Li-Bai refuted this and said that it's way too early to discuss anything related to an AI bubble, as that talk should only be discussed by minimum 2030 or even 2040. I assume this is a mistype and they meant 2045. The reason he says is that ADATA seems to be aware of the true... See, I told you, it's the chairman, man. It's the chairman. The true. This is the true. This is not fake. This is the true. True global demand. He can see it. He can see it. He's got that thing that Saruman had in his tower, you know, to talk with Sauron. He has the all-seeing eye, and he can see what's going on, like, which the tech markets have significantly underestimated. ADATA is one of the leading memory makers, and they have seen major... And you know what? I believe this. I don't know if I agree with him, but I believe he has a better understanding of the situation than the average person, because I know that Framework is getting a lot of their data from ADATA. Like, they get a lot of RAM from ADATA. They source from ADATA. And what they're told, and then they communicate transparently to their customers, is stuff that they're just being told from ADATA and other suppliers. So it's literally just like going down the supply chain. So, ADATA, okay, let's see. TSMC stock price plummeted after its earnings calls, reigniting concerns about... Okay, well, whatever. Okay, he states that demand for AI computing is on the rise. It's not on the decline, it's on the rise. Hence all the announcements from AMD today about Helios. Unlike anything that came before, there is a rise in power infrastructure. That is true. There definitely is a demand for the power infrastructure. Memory, okay, we all know about that. We all know about this. And the other components. The other components meaning CPU, GPU, copper, liquid cooling, you know, all that stuff. Water. Electricity demand is also seeing a major spike, though data centers that are coming online. Yeah, they're taking up all the electricity. They're taking up all the diesel. They're taking up all the natural gas. They're taking up all the water. They're taking all the water from all the lakes. I literally had some people tell me last year that their city, like, they tried to vote no to their local town hall meeting, and the city manager or the mayor or the county commissioner or someone literally agreed to give whoever the AI company was, like, half of the lake's water for the next, like, 3 years. What? Like, huh? He signed off on it. They're gonna go. So they have these trucks rolling through back in, like, December of last year, and they sucked up like half, like, not half, but they sucked up like all this water out of their lake. They literally took all the water and hauled it off to some AI data center that's being built somewhere. And, like, dude, like, this is happening, like, all over the place. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but it sounds pretty bad when you hear stories like that. You know, like, some AI company's like, hey, man, you know, we will... I don't even know what the deal was. Like, what is the city getting back from this? Like, you're giving your water, you're giving, like, a good chunk, I don't know what the percentage is, maybe it's only like 5%, but you're giving, like, a X amount of your water supply to an AI company to use for their liquid cooling. It's literally for their liquid cooling setup. Can you imagine? Hey man, I'm trying to build my Zen 6 X3D computer. Can I have some of the city's water for my closed loop data center for my Zen 6 X3D? Like that's how ridiculous it sounds. Like, give me your water. Like, give me your water, man. Like, give me the water. What? Anyway, although cloud providers such as Meta and XAI have started to lease out excess compute capacity, ADATA's chairman says that this does not mean that the demand is slowing down, but rather future AI applications will further expand into various business models such as business to business, business to, I don't know what B to, business to gamers, business to computers. I don't know what is this, business to business to consumer, business to consumer. What's business to G? Oh, business to government, business to business, business to government, business to consumer, and business to consumer, which only means that the compute demand will continue to rise and this excess compute capacity will not last for a long time. DRAM NAND expansion to solve the crisis might not be grounded in reality. More interestingly, he said that in the next 10 years, the world's most scarce resources would be electricity. I can totally agree with that. I feel like electricity, man. Blackouts are coming as they get more of these systems online. They start consuming more and more electricity and memory. When asked about whether the expansion of Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron in the DRAM NAND segments will lead to a decline in profits as low-cost inventories are exhausted, he said that major DRAM manufacturers will be very careful in bringing up new fabs and expansion projects as they understand the impact of large-scale expansion and would rather adopt a rational. This is the underlying reason why we're suffering with the high prices right now. These memory makers are following a multi-year expansion plan, and while lots of projects are being announced, we will have to wait and see whether they do finish on time. It's almost like the memory manufacturers are skeptical about AI, because if they were truly all in on AI, they would be ramping production as fast as possible. Isn't that interesting? The memory suppliers are slow to expand possibly because of skepticism. I can't see any other reason why they would not go all out and expand as fast as possible to capture the most of the highest percentage of the TAM that they can and outcompete each other. But it seems like they don't have any interest in doing that. Most of the construction projects and expansion products were existing between 2028. Oh, see, look at that. See, this is why this is where he's getting his 2040 number. Most of the construction projects and expansion plans for existing production lines are planned between 2028, that's literally 2 years from now, and 2035. That's 9 years from now. So most of the build out where you're going to start seeing all the big ramping, like literally the whole scene in Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, where Saruman had all those orcs like cutting down all those trees, and they're, you know, like how the metal making all the swords and shields and armor and stuff, and you had that music playing and the birds swarming around like the locusts. It's like that scene is happening as they build the AI data centers, and that whole music is playing, the da da da, like that's playing when they're building the data centers and taking all the water, all the electricity, all the diesel, and all the natural gas they can get. DRAM manufacturers are also engaged in several long-term agreements, and even these deals. It's all about the deals. They've got all the deals secured. ADATA's chairman has previously warned about an imminent 30% price bump in DRAM prices and a 40% bump for NAND flash by Q3 of this year. Others have estimated over 50% price hikes as the market remains unclear on the extent. Yeah, I have watched RAM go up there's a memory kit that I watch specifically to see how it happens. And I want to say 2 months ago, I was watching a memory kit. It was a 64 gigabyte DDR5 SODIMM 5600 64 gig kit. I was watching this kit. Here, let me, well, I'll just type it here. So, I've been watching Crucial DDR5 64 GB DDR5 5600 64 GB SODIMM. I've been watching this memory kit. 2 months ago, it was $649. This month, or maybe last month, it went up to $799. So I've been watching this memory kit because this is the one memory kit that I use to track price increases. So it's only gone up. It's only gone up. And there's another one that I've been watching. Well, I stopped watching it. Crucial DDR5 5600 96 gigabyte SODIMM. Exact same memory kit, just higher capacity. This one, I bought this one last year for $304. $304. 30499 from Micro Center. Currently, I think it's like $1,400 today. I think. So if I wanted to, I could sell that memory kit and make a ton of money off of that one memory kit that's in my Framework Laptop 16. Oh, you want to? Okay. You're saying Google the memory thing? Okay, actually, PC Part Picker has some good info on that. Memory price trends. I'm not interested in DDR4 though. Let's look at some DDR5, and this is not what I'm interested in. Where's the what? They only have this. They only have 32 gig. Where's 96? Where's 48, 96, 64? Like those are the ones that actually matter. But regardless, you can see how it's gone up. Literally from February of last year, it was around $50 for 16 gigs. Now it's hovering around an average of around $200 for the same exact memory kit. That's DDR4. Let's look at DDR5. DDR5. Oh boy. Okay, so right around the holiday season. So this is weird because it's like if you didn't wait for the Black Friday shopping season, if you bought your RAM at the beginning of November last year, like if you got this 64 gig, oh, this is the 64 gig kit I'm talking about. Yeah. This is it. DDR5. Oh, this is probably desktop and not laptop. Regardless, it's 64 gigs. So if you bought this at the start of November, you'd be paying like $350 or so. Around $350. November last year. Early November. By the end of November, around Black Friday, it went from like $350 to like almost $700 in 1 month. In November. In the holiday season month, the RAM price went up. So, meaning all those people who were waiting for the Black Friday sale, dude, oh man. Man, look at that. Look at that jump in November last year. That was the biggest jump. And then you had another one in January. And then February it was stable. March it was stable. It basically started going up again last month. June it went up. July it's gone up a little bit again. And this guy is warning, saying, hey, warning, warning. A-Data, man, A-Data chairman seems like the guy to follow if you're trying to figure out what's going to happen with the RAM. This guy seems to know what's going on. It says it's going to jump 30% and NAND's going up. Oh, that means SSDs are going up 40% this quarter as AI starves consumer supply. Better get used to deleting Steam games that you don't play, because you're not going to be able to get that 4 terabyte SSD anytime soon. You know what I'm talking about? I am so glad I maxed out all my SSDs on my computer. I am so glad I maxed them out, man. I would be very worried if I didn't max out all my NVMEs. And even now I'm thinking I don't have enough SSDs. I need more, but I can't buy them anymore. So it's like, oh, here we go. Delete Steam games. Delete the Steam games. Well, I gotta think, like, what are some Steam games that I never finished? I mean, they're probably never gonna get finished now if we delete them from the computer, because now it's even less inclined to play them. Deleting games on the 4 terabyte NVMe. That's terrible, man. I normally never delete games off of my NVMe, but this is desperate times call for desperate measures. The fact that I'm thinking about deleting Steam games from my SSD, that says something, because I historically never delete games from my SSD. Here we go, another one. Well, okay. Well, right. Currently, the RAM is like $800. So this is just, this is just rough. Let me see. Yeah. Do they not have the one that... You know what? Micro Center doesn't even have the memory kit that I have. I was trying to find it. They don't have it. Okay. Well, Newegg has it. Yeah, it's like $1,400. Hold on, does that track with the price trend? Oh, they don't have the data on... So, PC Part Picker, they don't have the data on anything. So, like this memory kit, for example. This is the memory kit that I was tracking. Because I have people that are like telling me, like, when can I buy RAM? And I'm like, I'll watch it for you, or you can watch it yourself. But so far, it's not looking pretty, man. I know someone that wants to get this 64 gig kit, and they should have bought it when it was $650. Like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I think it was like April or March or something. It was like $650. Because I've been watching it to see if it's ever going to go down. I'm using this to see if RAM actually goes down in price. So far, it's only gone up in price, which is interesting because these little valleys here, see where it goes down here on this chart? It looks like in April, it dipped a little bit. Like a couple of times, it went down and then back up and then down and back up. But ever since April, there was like a little bit of a decline or a drop in price in April. And then since May, it's only gone up. It's only... Okay, it looks like it went down a little bit from June into July, and then it went back up again. It's even higher than it was in June. So, and this is the memory kit that everybody, like, There's one person I know has been looking for this memory kit. He's been waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm like, dude, if you truly need RAM, you're probably gonna have to buy it at the stupid expensive price. Otherwise, just don't get RAM. But it was cheaper like 4 months ago, and now it's $800, which is funny because this is the price. This is the launch price of DDR5 back in 2021 for desktop memory. DDR5 5600 costs $800 in 2021 when 12th gen Intel launched. This was the price. Now it's back to what it was during the launch of DDR5. So it's only going to go beyond the launch price. So it's like, man, it's not a good time to have to buy memory. That's crazy. DDR5 SODIMM, and then the 96 gig kit is Micro Center doesn't even have that one. Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah, 2024 was the last like upgrade cycle for me. So I haven't had to do anything with RAM for a while, thankfully. But my goodness, I'm so glad that I bought the 90, like I have the 96 gig. I have this kit. I have the 96, I have 2X48 that I bought from Micro Center last year. I think it was literally a year ago. I bought the 96 gig version of this. I'm so glad I did because that RAM is in this Framework Laptop 16 right now. So I've got a Framework Laptop 16 with 96 gigs of SODIMM DDR5 and 6 terabytes of storage. I've got a 2 terabyte 2230 SSD and a 4 terabyte regular 2280 SSD in there. So dual SSDs and 96 gigs of RAM with discrete graphics and USB 4. So that laptop is really, really good. But if I was having to do the whole thing over again, like this year, it just never would have happened. It's crazy. Man. And it's only going up because I remember when this was $649 and now it's more. And I paid $304 for the 96 gig kit, which is now $1,400. $1,400. This is the memory kit in my Framework Laptop 16. Crucial. SODIMM. DDR5 5600. I paid $304 a year ago. Now it's $1,400. So that's insane. Insane. And the A-Data guy is saying it's going to go up another 30%. And the NAND is going to go up another 40%. Oh, let's go look at the laptop let's look at SSD pricing. Let's look at the SSD pricing. Internal SSD. Okay. Immediately sort to 4 terabyte. Immediately go 4 terabyte. Immediately go lowest price. Oh my goodness. A Crucial BX 4 terabyte is at $400. This is double the price. This is more than double the price of what I would normally pay for a SATA SSD. The Micro Center brand Inland Platinum is even more expensive. And then the cheapest, the low-end entry-level Inland QN450 QLC Gen 4 is $500. $500 for a 4 terabyte. Just for reference, so that people understand what I consider acceptable prices. So this is what I pay 4 terabyte should be $200 maximum for NVMe, and 2 terabyte equals like, I don't know, like 100 for NVMe. And then SATA would typically be like 15% to 20% less, usually. So this, it doesn't matter what generation. This is what I pay. This is what I pay. I don't pay more than $200 for a 4 terabyte SSD. And I don't pay more than $100 for a 2 terabyte SSD. These are the prices that I pay. So when I see this, this is depressing, man. This is literally like double the amount of money that I would spend about $190 for this crucial. In fact, that's how much I paid last year. I bought up like 4 of these and stuck them all in my Threadripper system last winter. And now it's like $400. I am so glad I didn't wait. I did not wait. And I'm so glad. Okay, here's another one. Evo. This is my favorite Samsung SSD. I like this SSD from Samsung so much that I have 3 of these Evos. I've got one of them in this computer that I'm streaming on right now. I've got one of them in the D2 computer. And I've got a third one in some other computer somewhere. So I've got 3 of these, all of them 4 terabyte Samsung 990 Evo Plus, and I think I paid like around $200, maybe. I think I paid $220 for one of them, and like $205 for the other 2 or something. Man, $600 is totally not worth it. That's ridiculous. That is a ripoff. This is straight up robbery right here with these prices, man. Like, I wouldn't pay more than $240, $200. The most I would absolutely pay for this is $250. No more than $250. That's my maximum offer. Take it or leave it. And those guys will tell me go take a hike, because you either pay our price or you go home with nothing. But it's like, okay, well, luckily I don't need SSDs because I bought all my SSDs already. So, but for real, I just feel sorry for the people who are in a situation where it's like, oh, they need an SSD, but boy, it's like, whoa, the prices, man. You have 3 990 Evo Plus, which are 2 terabyte each. Yeah. Yeah, man. I knew this was, I had a bad feeling because when I started noticing RAM go up last year, I was thinking, you know what? SSDs are gonna go up too, because the same companies that make the RAM are the same companies that make the NAND. So it's like, you know, they're gonna raise the prices on this. $600 for the best Samsung SSD is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. $600. Man. Mm. I had to load up on all those 4 terabytes. So it's like, because last year, because I don't know, you guys, those of you that have been following my channel for a while, last year I did a big upgrade where I built like a home NAS. So I took all my hard drives, like all my old 3.5-inch hard drives, and I put them all in the NAS. So I don't have any spindle drives in my desktop anymore. I used to have old school hard drives in my computer, like this computer that I'm streaming on right now. This computer used to have like 3 or 4 hard drives in it, but I took all the hard drives out. It doesn't have any hard drives anymore. Everything in this computer is all NAND flash now. But so I had to load up on all those SSDs and to replace all those hard drives that were removed. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, see? So it's like, where is Here's the task manager on the computer. So this is the computer that this is the Tech Thursdays computer. Those of you who tune into the gaming live streams on the weekend, you're used to seeing me show the task manager. So this is the computer for Tech Thursdays. AMD Ryzen 9 9950 X3D 16 core 32 thread 96 gigabytes of DDR5. We run 4 sticks at 6400 megatransfers because 4 sticks looks better than 2 sticks. And then you can see here we've got the Samsung SSD 990 Evo plus 4 terabyte. So we got a 4 terabyte. There's the 4 terabyte. That's one of the other ones in like another computer, and I forgot where the third one is. And then I've got a 2 terabyte Micro Center inland something SSD. It's like a old Gen 3 SSD. And then I've got whatever this is the SSD that we're locally recording the stream to right now at 4K 60. And this one is this is another cheapo. This is like the El Cheapo Micro Center $60 Black Friday special SSD. Yeah, that one's a Gen 3. And then we've got a Crucial P3 Plus 4 terabyte SSD. And that one's loaded up with like Steam games. In fact, the Samsung and the Crucial, the two 4 terabytes have a bunch of the Steam. In fact, the P3 Plus I think is almost full. I need to move some games over to the Samsung because this is slowing down significantly. Because you guys know me, I always go cheapy cheap, the cheapest one possible. Get those cheap SSDs, no DRAM. Get the no DRAM on the SSD. Always, I always buy SSDs that have no DRAM on them. So I can't load them up to 100% load because they'll slow down. And this thing is slowing down bad, man, because it is like almost full. So I'm going to have to delete some Steam games, or realistically, I have to move some Steam games over to the Samsung Evo. And then the C drive, Windows 11 is installed on some super old ghetto Micro Center 2 terabyte cheapy cheap inland something whatever SSD. Like the most cheapy cheap SSD has my Windows 11 installation. It is a old Gen 3 SSD. So I've got a Gen 3, a Gen 4, I don't know what this is, probably a Gen 3. This is a Gen 3, and this is a Gen 5/4. So I've got one Gen 5 in here. It's Gen 5 2 lanes, and it is running at Gen 5 2 lanes. And then we've got Gen 3, Gen 3, Gen 4. This is like a slow Gen 4. This doesn't even hit like max speed on Gen 4. And that one typically runs a lot of my Steam games if I use this computer for streaming the few times that I do. And then we've got a ghetto Gen 3 Micro Center brand. And then we've got another Micro Center. Okay, so that's what's in here. So I've got a SATA inland 2 terabyte, which replaced one of my hard drives. And then I got a Crucial. This is one of those ones that I bought last year, right before the run-up on the price. This is one of those 4 terabyte Crucial BX500. Yeah, that one is literally the one that we were looking at. That's this one right here. Yeah, I bought like 4 of these last fall, right before the run-up, because I knew it was going to happen. This one right here. It's $400 now. I think I paid like around $200 for 4. So I spent like $800 on like 4 of these. Imagine that $800 got me 4 terabytes. Now you can spend the same amount of money and you'd only get 2 of them. You get half of the capacity. That tells me that the price has doubled effectively. So that's crazy. Crazy. But yeah, that's what this one is. The BX500 right here. So I can fit 2 more SSDs in this computer. So this computer is not maxed out. It's maxed out on NVMe because this is the godlike motherboard for those wondering what motherboard we're using. This godlike can fit 5 NVMe's with no lane sharing. So I'm running full fat 5 NVMe drives, and I have room for 2 more SATA SSDs. So I got 4 SATA, 5 NVMe, a total of 9 drives off of the godlike, and I still have capacity for 2 more SSDs. But not gonna buy them, not in this market. No way. So anyway, this is the godlike. About the Nova, you wanted to ask which NVMe slot on the Nova would you utilize for Windows OS installation? The top one. I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to do that, but you want to do it the top one ideally. The one that goes above the graphics card is typically your Windows one. What PC case do you use? I use this one. So you're asking me what case I'm using right now? Like physically right now? This one. This is the computer case that we're using right now with the godlike, with all that stuff inside. Asus ProArt PA602 tempered glass EATX mid tower. It says mid tower. It's actually full tower because it has the full 8 slots on the back. It's very large. It has wheels on the back. You can see it's got wheels, so I can move it around. It doesn't have wheels in the front, so you got to angle it up if you want to move it around. But yeah, vents on the side. Really big. It's got dual 200 millimeter. You should go watch the live stream I did last year. We did the live stream build on stream last year of the computer that I'm streaming on right now. Big EATX godlike motherboard is in here. But yeah, that's the case. Unfortunately, I don't have the camera to show the computer because it's not connected to this computer. But if you tune into the weekend gaming live streams, we typically do that stuff where I'll have a camera that can show the actual build while gaming. Did the P602 ever get loud? The PA602 can get loud, but it's like a low frequency loud. It's not a high frequency loud because the fans on the front are super big, thick, 200 millimeter. These are giant intake fans on the front. There's 2 of them right there. You can see those are really big and really thick fans. So if you want to see the build, you should go look on the channel. I have a playlist of my live stream PC builds. The most recent one I did was from last year. I think it was November last year or something. And it was me building this exact computer. Godlike motherboard. Or just look on the channel for the godlike PC build and you'll see it. It's got the godlike. It's got this case. It has the, I forgot what CPU we put in there at the time. I've changed CPUs many times already throughout the course of a year now. So I forgot if it was, I think it was 9950X3D. Well, it was either that or it was the 9950X. But there's a 9950X3D in it now. You put in, yeah, during the live stream it was 9950X. But today it's 9950X3D. I've swapped it. I currently am not using the 9950X. I'm probably going to change my NAS, although I don't really need a 9950X in a NAS. But my NAS desktop currently has a, I forget what's in there. It's like one of the older CPUs. But it's AM5. And I can probably put the 9950X in there because it's sitting in a box doing nothing right now. Yeah, basically, since the D2 came out, where is that over? I think it's over here. Yeah, since this came out, I put this in the gaming computer, and I took this one, the 9950X 3D. I took this one out of the gaming computer. I put it in this computer. So the Godlike actually uses 9950X right now, 9950X 3D. I think actually yeah. I mean, we showed it earlier, right here, 9950X 3D. So 9950X, I need to figure out what to do with that. I'll probably put it in the NAS. The Hydro Shift aesthetic. You had a Hydro Shift 3 from Lian Li Pump Fail. Arctic Pro 3. Well, I'm using an EK water block AIO. Oh, with the X3D2. With this, this one, we're using a Deepcool 360 AIO, which you can't actually buy in the US anymore. Because you can't buy Deepcool in America anymore. X3D2 is the fastest CPU I have right now. In terms of like overall everything, like gaming, everything. It's the fastest. But the thing is, it's like it's so minutely faster, like you'll never actually notice the difference. It is technically the fastest though, but it's like, 9950X3D versus 9950X3D2. You'll be hard pressed to ever really notice the difference. I mean, you will see the differences in absolutes, but in terms of like noticeable difference, you won't actually notice a difference. All right, guys. Well, oh, remove this. I think that's pretty much it. New hardware. Oh, we were talking about games. I know. Oh, that was one thing that I was. Oh, I guess Assassin's Creed came out a few, like, what, 2 weeks ago, and the Halo campaign Evolved is coming out next week. Honestly, don't if you're expecting to see either of those on the channel, you're probably not gonna do it, or you're gonna be disappointed because I don't plan on covering either one of those games. I was thinking of getting Halo. I don't know. I have to think about it more. Um, After I played through the Master Collection, I don't know. I don't feel like I need to play Halo again. But uh, this weekend we will be streaming more of, you guessed it, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink Endless Ragnarok, because I cannot get enough of that game. I've been playing that game for like 2.5 weeks now. The expansion came out like 2 weeks ago, and I've been playing it like ever since the expansion came out. That game is so good. That game is so good. We will probably be streaming the Defi Infinite or Infinity, basically the Savage difficulty fights that remain. There's like 4 of them. I still need to clear 3 of them, plus the hidden 5th one that you unlock after you beat all 4 of them. So I'm in the process of learning those fights, basically progging that, and gonna complete it hopefully this weekend. So that's what we're gonna be streaming this weekend. More Endless Ragnarok. As much as I like Halo, I just think, man, Endless Ragnarok just is so good. The more I play the game, the more the game always seems so amazing. They just keep, there's more and more stuff. There's just more and more stuff. For Halo on the PC, should Xbox controller be used? I mean, I don't know. You can use it if you want. If you have the Xbox controller and if you want to relive the glory days of Halo like on the console style, then yeah, I don't see a reason why you can't do that. Can the Godlike and 950 X3D2 run RAM 2? Yes, it can. Is it dope? I'm still in Chaos Plus Plus. Yeah, man, it is so good. Endless Ragnarok is so good. I just can't get enough of that game. That game is so good. The thing about Endless Ragnarok, when I realized how much stuff that they added from the base game, like Endless Ragnarok, they added summons. They added summons. And some of the summons are like things you would never imagine. You can literally summon FIFA's World Cup's referee. Like, why is he a summon? Why is he a summon in an anime game? Like, there's ridiculous stuff like that. That you can summon the Wheel of Fortune. Like, what? Like, you can tell Japanese people made the game because it's like the humor, the random humor off the wall, the slapstick style. It's just so weird. And then, like, you can summon random, like, fans from the town or whatever. And, like, I don't know too much about Grand Blue lore. Like, I'm only getting more and more interested in it the more I play this game. But it is so, like, the summons are ridiculous. Like, it's over the top. And then on top of that, you have weapon transcendence. So like all the lower tier weapons that you basically max and then never touched again, all of them are viable again. Although once you get to endgame, the Terminus and the Ascension still end up being best in slot for most builds. Although the nice thing about Endless Ragnarok is you can actually, like, if you're someone who's coming to the game from an MMO, you can actually clear all the content as though you were playing Final Fantasy XIV. Meaning you can build like one person can build their character as a tank and have like 500 plus thousand HP and just never die. And you can use a defender weapon and it's totally viable. And then you can have a healer character, basically prevent anyone from like dying, keep everybody's HP up all the time when they mess up, although most people should be dodging mechanics. But you can still have like a dedicated healer. And then you can have like your broken DPS characters that dish out tons of damage. Of course, everybody's dealing lots of damage. But when I realized how much build variety is in the game and how open-ended it is, like how you can do the mechanics of the fights, like the endgame fights are thrilling because you have to basically down the boss within a certain amount of time. So it's very, very much like Savage raiding in Final Fantasy XIV. So they really got that feel down with these fights. It's really good. So if you're someone who played a lot of 14 and you're interested in a more action-based game with action-based combat, I cannot recommend it enough. It is so good. Endless Ragnarok is one of the best games I've played all year. And the thing is, it isn't even like a new game, but it's kind of like, if we're going to do a proportion, Elden Ring to Shadow of the Erdtree. So 2 years ago, we had Shadow of the Erdtree, Granblue Fantasy Relink to Endless Ragnarok. It's that good. Like, the expansion is the same level of good that Shadow of the Erdtree was for Elden Ring. Like, Shadow of the Erdtree introduced so much content, so much new stuff to the game that it was almost like a completely standalone game in its own right. Endless Ragnarok feels very, very similar. Like, in terms of the amount of stuff that they introduced. They introduced summons. They introduced the mastery traits, which basically, think if you're someone who played World of Warcraft, you understand talent trees and how talent trees change the dynamics of how you play a certain class. The mastery traits in Endless Ragnarok are very, very similar to that concept. So it just makes it so that you can have two people playing the exact same character, but they have spec'd in different mastery traits. So their two characters play very differently from one another, even though the exact same character had the exact same moveset. Because some of the mastery traits add and change aspects of different moves. So it's really good, man. Really good. Splatoon Raiders was another game that I was supposed to. That one was another one that I was actually going to look at, but unfortunately, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink also, man. Monster Hunter Wilds. I was supposed to go back and do Monster Hunter Wilds because the Duna challenge hunt is on rerun. I did it already. I failed it on stream last weekend. I got like a C and a B, and then I did it off stream and got an A. So I've already completed it. Otherwise, I would have streamed Monster Hunter again this weekend just to do the Duna hunt. But I already got the A rating off stream. I quickly I basically went with like a Gagmazio's Thunder Lance and basically poked it to death in like 8 minutes or 9 minutes or something. But anyway, we were gonna look at Monster Hunter, but no, this weekend is all endless Ragnarok. It's all endless Ragnarok. Endless Ragnarok. If you're someone who played Monster Hunter, oh my goodness, you should be playing Endless Ragnarok. Endless Ragnarok is like Monster Hunter meets Final Fantasy and Neo. Neo, like, cause I was thinking, like, man, the summons in Endless Ragnarok are like the yokai that you get in Neo. It's like Neo 3 plus Monster Hunter. The fight structure is like Monster Hunter, sort of, without running around in the map. And it's kind of like Final Fantasy raid structure with 4-person co-op. So it's kind of like that. The AoE dodging is telegraphed very much like Final Fantasy 14. And so it's like the game is literally made for someone like me. Someone who has played Final Fantasy 14, Elden Ring, Neo, and Monster Hunter. If you're someone who has played one or more of those games, you should definitely be playing Endless Ragnarok because the game is literally made for someone like you. It is so, so good. Unless you don't like the cel-shaded anime graphics aesthetic, because that's the one thing about it. It has the anime look, whereas the other games, like Monster Hunter, has a more realistic look, except it's not really realistic to hunt a giant dragon. But it's just so good. I'm having such a blast with that game that I just cannot stop and play the other games. Because I was thinking, like, man, I should probably cover Splatoon Raiders or Halo, but if I had completed Endless Ragnarok, I mean, I've already completed the story of Endless Ragnarok, so I'm doing just post-game, like, end-game rating at this point. But, man, it's like, even if I complete all that stuff, I still want to start building other characters. That's the thing. There's, like, 28 characters. So it's like you're not done, even though you clear everything. So, yeah, we'll be doing more Endless Ragnarok. Like I said, July is basically Endless Ragnarok for all the gaming live streams this month. So that's pretty much it. And then I think August, there is one game listed for August that I have noted down. That game is called Beast of Reincarnation. So we will be taking a look at Beast of Reincarnation. That will be the next game. And I don't know if the system requirements for that are out yet. For the PC version of it. Let's see. Beast of Reincarnation. Okay, so the Steam page does show the requirements for Beast of Reincarnation. And it looks like the minimum specs for August gaming is going to be an Intel Core i5 8400 or Ryzen 5 3600. Recommended specs, the GPU, a GTX 1070 or an RX 580. That is very strange because the 580 is more like a 1060. And then the recommended specs are a 12700K or a 5800X, 16 gigs of RAM apparently, or a 3060 GPU and 6700 XT GPU. With these graphics cards and these CPUs, you can get 1080p 60 on medium settings with upscaling, performance, SSD required. That means it probably uses something like direct storage. Ooh, that means this game might be really hard to run. If you have a 6700 XT or a 3060 and you're basically only getting you're stuck on 1080p, you're upscaled to 1080p and you're only getting 60 FPS on medium settings. Ooh, that means this game might be really hard to run. I don't know. When I see stuff like this does not inspire any confidence. You know, like this one right here sets expectations, saying if you have an RX 580 or a GTX 1070, you're gonna run the game on low settings with upscale for 1080p, and you're gonna get 40 FPS on lowest settings with upscale, with FSR 1 upscaling. Whoa, man. that sounds like that might be pretty hard. So I don't know, but we might be looking at this game next month. Beast of Reincarnation. So that's the next game after Endless Ragnarok. Assuming I get done with all the Endless Ragnarok stuff. So we have like 2 weeks, essentially, to get through all the Endless Ragnarok. So, whoa, I don't know how I feel about that, man. You gotta upscale to 1080p on medium just to get 60 FPS. But these are pretty old graphics cards, and they're kind of entry level now. But anyway, that's probably gonna do it. If you're new to the channel, we do these weekly shows, Tech Thursdays, every Thursdays, as the name implies, where we talk about anything tech related, anything that's adjacent to PC gaming. We also cover the console market as well, PC hardware, obviously. So if you have any tech related questions, feel free to ask. This is the best time to do it. Otherwise, you can catch me sometimes on the weekend. I try to do one weekend live stream. Usually it's either on Friday evenings or Saturday evenings. And the only way to know is to hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live, because sometimes it's one or the other, and sometimes it's both. But anyway, thanks for tuning in as always, guys, and I will see, if I don't see you on tomorrow's gaming live stream, I will see you on the next episode of Tech Thursdays. Until then, take care, and I will see you then. Thanks.